All right, welcome to our Friday Flex. As you can see, we have Joseph here.
I've been pumping iron, baby.
He's been showing that iron. Who's the boss?
I command you to grow.
Yeah. Somebody's getting their exercise on. Mm-hmm. Not me. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get better. We have a special guest today. So they're a returning guest, and we don't know if they're gonna act right today.
She's gonna act right. She just don't know if her daddy gonna act right.
We'll leave that for you all to decide. So, all right. So, as you all know, we are on the communication portion of. She's ready, and we got
sit right in the middle. Is okay.
No,
I don't know.
It's not gonna fit.
All right.
Yeah.
Or am I in the middle? Why would you get in the screen too?
I'm in the screen.
No, you're not. You're looking crooked. You're sitting incorrect.
You want our knees to touch, don't you? Okay.
No, I'm not into all that. Reel me in. I took the bait. Oh man, we gotta stop listening to these comedians. These guys are just too funny.
Yeah, communication style. Last week we talked about passive-aggressive communication. And so today I was thinking about, I know I said yesterday manipulative, but I think aggressive communication style would be great.
It's not over.
Okay.
Get in the scene.
So we started with communication with children, those without voices. And then after that we did passive communication, then passive aggressive now. So we'll go to aggressive communication. And I was thinking about, there's this old YouTube video that there's a guy in the forest, and it's called Unforgivable. So it's a niche kind of comedy, but this guy is demonstrating aggressive communication style, in which he kind of talks like this.
Kind of like a mumbling under his breath.
He's not really mumbling, he just talk low.
But did he say that to another person?
He was talking to his girl.
Oh.
And and so
talking to his girl. Don't do that to me like that.
And so he would explain the situation and how he would talk to her, and it would always be in this aggressive, kind of angry, very problematic way of communication. Of course, his point was understood, but it was done in a very aggressive way. And so I figured for this Friday Reflections, we should talk about the aggressive style kind of communication, so that as we are trying to express ourselves, we do so in a way that doesn't make anybody feel uncomfortable. But I mean, of course, in communication, there's going to be some discomfort no matter what you do, especially if the conversation is difficult, meaning there's some very heavy information that needs to be given.
But if the delivery is done a certain way, where it's mindful of the other person's feelings and their concerns, right? Because in communication, if we are simply just reacting and not truly taking in and deeply listening to the other person and we're just reacting, then yeah, the delivery could be very bad in terms of the outcome or the result could be very bad. But even with a very serious, or you could say a heavy subject matter, if one is delivering it with some mindfulness, you know, then a very difficult subject matter could actually have a good result. It takes practice. It's not easy. You know, it may not necessarily be easy, but you can still get a good result.
I'm smiling because I think this was the early 2000s or late 90s. There was some bad boy artist, Diddy's label, who had a song, Special Delivery.
I need that.
Special delivery. Yeah. And so our delivery should be special.
Yeah, it should be special. It should be customized or tailored to that person.
Right.
Because there's some individuals, you could be giving them a very important message. Let's say, for instance, someone falls asleep at the wheel. They're in the driver's seat. You're a passenger. You can't just be like, oh, you're going to be all right. You need a blanket? Your delivery needs to be a little stronger than that to get the point across, you know? So it depends on the situation. Again, time, place, and circumstances. We have to customize or tailor fit the delivery so that the appropriate point is made.
Yeah.
You know, the point gets across.
Right.
You know, otherwise, yeah. It won't have the correct effect, you know.
And so I knew it.
You have to tie it to the thing.
It doesn't tie. Well,
I'm going to have some link to it. Zip tie it, baby.
We'll figure it out.
Zip tie.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so I'll read a little bit about aggressive communication. Well, actually, before I do that,
read it.
Okay. So some of the questions that are raised in this particular article talk about. They ask 3 questions. So the first question is, do you raise your voice when you're upset?
I like to lower my voice and speak nice and clear.
That's diabolical.
Oh. I don't raise. I'm like, so this is what we're going to do. I go with the Teddy Roosevelt, you know. Speak softly, and I just carry a big stick.
Hey, sometimes you gotta swing it. You know, I was thinking about the movie Taken. It's like I have a particular set of skills. And when Liam Neeson's child was kidnapped, and the person called, he called the person, and you're like. Instead of getting angry, he was very calm. He was like, I have a particular set of skills. And you wish you would have done that. And so, do you want to be a part of this?
Of course, she's trying to gain
she wants to be a
your
part
attention.
of it.
I'm going to let her slide in there.
Okay.
Go ahead, get some.
All right, let's
get
see.
some. And I think that zip tie will just zip right onto the side. I'll grab it for you. Got to clean it first.
Yeah. Ma'am, all right, come on. You got people waiting on you. They want to see what you're wearing today, okay? They want to see what you're wearing today. All right, let's see here. We got Uncle, we got Daddy in here. All right, so she's dressed by Daddy today. We have these nice water shoes. I don't know if these are water, but these are good for everyday terrain. And then we have it's 50 degrees here, so it's a little chilly. And we have the warm pants. Exactly. And we got the jacket, matching bow. You know, so we're doing it today. All right. So anyway, so I was talking about the movie Taken and how the instead of being angry, he was just okay.
Did you clean it?
So since it falls at the bottom, I don't clean it. It's all right. It should be fine.
I'm just gonna be passive.
Be passive.
Clean it. No,
It's a parent thing. It builds up your immune system. How do you wanna?
I was gonna, but since she's not gonna be there,
No, she's not gonna be there. She's gonna be right here.
well, she's gonna have to have a loop or something.
Yeah,
Doesn't work without a loop.
I'll hold on to it. So
You have no other choice.
Yeah, I have no other choice. Anyway, all right. So, what is it? Oh, Mama Swift. What did Mama Swift say? She said something. She's so pretty and sharp. Oh, thank you. This is like her mama. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the questions was, when you're angry, do you raise your voice? The second question was, do you criticize other people when you're upset? And as I look at my different experiences, I think that was often after the passive part was done. I wanted every piece. Like I'm criticizing you, your eyebrows too long. You know, just
That's just getting petty.
it's part of it. Aggressive, petty aggressiveness.
Passive petty, passive aggressive petty.
And the other one was, do you get physical when you're upset? Yeah. When somebody's upset, you start slapping, and but you don't know any better yet. Okay, all right.
No, was that aggressive? No.
I don't know. Sometimes, so this morning, she was kind of moving around. I was like, hey. I get like a swift kick to my mouth. I was like, okay, all right. No blood yet. But anyway, so passive aggressive. So I'm going to read a little bit. Sorry, passive. No, aggressive. Yes. So we're on
Be
aggressive
nice to
today.
yourself.
Yes. So aggressive communication is described as expressing your feelings and opinions strongly as they occur. And so we often, in our childhood, we meet those kids that as soon as they get the opportunity to speak, they gotta say something negative about somebody, or they have to, curse up a storm to express how they really feel. Or they often those people that they just fight all the time. I don't know if you had anybody in school that just fought.
They had a certain look to them.
Exactly.
I kid you not. There's a certain look. I was talking about that with my mama yesterday.
Yeah.
Certain individuals that just like getting into fights.
Man.
And they have a certain look to them.
Girl. Yeah, they a little shifty. A little shifty. And in the black community, they say one of the traits of those kind of individuals are they wear black Air Force Ones. Those were the black Air Force Ones. They're the ones that they love fights. They love getting in fights, some type of altercation, some type of fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. Over there tussling.
And tussling. And so when you look at their life, young lady, let's get it together. When you look at their life, you see that they're raised in households in which the parents yell, That's how they communicate. That is just like the Flintstones. Hey, or you know, I know. Oh, I remember Yabba Dabba Doo. But anyway, I know.
But I know what you mean. They're always yelling and it's confrontation. When I was growing up in school, even when I was in the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts and so forth, there was a few families. Actually, the den leaders. It was a husband and wife team, and they were always aggressive with each other. And because the home environment was, for lack of better words, violent, you know, it didn't come to me or come across as like a calm, peaceful environment. So because it was always very tumultuous and always some type of chaotic situation going on, that their son was the same way even at school with other kids. It's not that he tried to pick a fight with everybody, but just his interactions. I mean, he was just an aggressive kid. All because he's taken on all that aggression, and because he doesn't have a voice and what to speak of a proper, positive outlet for all of that energy that he's taking in through his senses, he just takes it out on other kids at school. Yeah. You know, just the slightest, you know, like they say, the straw that breaks the camel's back. Exactly. The slightest provocation is ideal, you know, for him to just unleash. And he's not the only one. Like I said, there's other kids that lived in a neighborhood. Same thing. You know, where there's so much aggression, there's arguing and fighting. You can hear the arguments from the street. Like you can just be down the street, you know, walking to your house thinking that, oh, maybe so-and-so is home. Let's see if they're available to play basketball. But you're like 6 houses away and you can hear the parents or the people yelling to the top of their lungs. You're like,
I think I'll go home now.
I'll go home now. You know, he's not available, you know, and so you don't even approach that house because you already know there's a war in there, you know. So, yeah, that type of aggression and that anger and frustration where parents may not know what to do with it. They pass it down to the kids like it's a family heirloom. Yeah. And then the kids don't know what to do with it. So it's like they're just taking their monkey and throwing it on another person's back, and we just don't know what to do with that monkey.
Right. Yeah. And so the monkey swings from tree to tree or person to person.
Or somebody just throws it on you like it's a booger.
Throwing the monkey at you.
That chunky monkey.
Funky, chunky. So you see that, and I remember it was a unique experience. I remember, and mind you, east side of Detroit. I went to, I can't remember what was the name of the school, but it was only for a year because it was like Satan spawns went there, and so I remember this guy named Antoine, and I don't know what it is about Antoine's, but man, my experience with Antoine's, I had to do some therapeutical work on Antoine's. But anyway, so what? But what would happen is that we would be playing basketball, and he would find some reason just to like bully me. Just you know, until the point where
the shoe and sock combined.
Oh, she took both of them? She.
I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to let her do what she do.
Yeah, sure. And I thought, so this is, you know, dad's being naive. I thought you put like some thick socks on and then this rubbery, somewhat like very tight, secure shoe. I thought she wouldn't be able to take it off. As soon as we got in the car, off. So anyway, so until one day, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take this anymore. So I think I like kicked him in the groin and ran. And I remember running fast too. I was a track star then. No, I wasn't a track star. I didn't run track, but I was fast. I ran fast. I was running.
You were running.
And so what ended up happening was later that day, he brings his cousin, like, you kicked, my cousin. And so I had to fight both of them off.
See? That's inner city Detroit for you right there.
Yeah, east side Detroit.
You think, oh, that's west side too.
Yeah.
Because you thought you only had to fight one person. Before you know it, they tell their friends and their family members and cousins and this and that. And now you got to fight the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, the whole roach party. Yeah.
But then there's another form of aggressive communication as well. Woo! She's slinging slobber.
Slobber slinger.
Slingers. Another episode of Double Wagon.
Double wagon.
But a comical form of aggressive communication. So, grade school, I went to a co-ed school, okay? And so if there was a girl that liked you, she didn't just write a letter on Valentine's Day, like, will you be my Valentine's, something of that nature.
Girl.
Usually.
Nah, I can't. You tossed it. Go ahead.
Usually, sometimes the females, what they'll do is they'll punch you or they'll push you. Oh. And you're trying to understand, why is this person so aggressive towards me?
Right.
And you don't know that they actually like you. Mm-hmm. You're thinking it's something else, right? So that's a comical form of aggressive communication.
Aggressive communication. Because,
And this is so cute. Look at this. I want to put it on. You know what I'm saying? I might be able to get my big toe up in there, but I like this. You did good.
Try to coordinate.
Little smiley face on there. You know, nice, thick, and warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm showing off your shoes.
So
look, then you go show off your toes.
No, it's not. It's not too big. You see the foot. It's actually.
In other words, there's no foot binding going on over here.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, you just don't want to wear shoes. All right, so we got your milks here. So anyway, like the aggressive communication, because they're not, I mean, of course, it's children. When it comes to liking somebody, you don't know how to, I mean, your parents are telling you, well, if you like somebody, this is what you do. Because, what happens depending on the age. But anyway, so, yeah, you see that when those families who are either raised in their family unit or like their nuclear family, or just the surrounding area, when people do not know how to properly express themselves, then in order to be heard, they will yell.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And as I was sharing months ago, and we did lightly talk about this on one of the earlier podcasts, is that you can have two individuals, and they could just be a few inches from each other, but again, they're yelling. And why? It's because their hearts are so far apart that through yelling, they believe they can make up that difference, to make up that distance there.
Girl?
But when two people's hearts are very close together, you see they don't even have to yell. Sometimes they don't even have to say a word. They just give each other the look, and there's complete understanding.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was talking to a business owner that makes signs and so forth, and he was talking about how his great-grandparents knew each other since they were 10.
Wow.
And they were married about 70 years. So they died in their 90s. So he said that his relationship, or he thought that all relationships were like that. Because he remembered going to their house And he said all they did was sit on the porch and just, hold each other's hand. Occasionally they would look at each other and just start break out and laughing. Not even say anything, but just break out in laughter.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. And so he said that sometimes the wife would, rub his leg and, get him some tea. Mm-hmm. He said he drank tea. And sometimes he would get up and make her a plate of food and come back, sit on the porch. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't say anything. Mm-hmm. They were so connected that everything was done kind of subconsciously or telepathically.
They're just connected. So there's the intuition and just really deeply knowing.
Right.
Your lady says something here.
Go ahead and read that real quick.
So what she said was, ha, 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 ha. I did that before. Threw a snowball in his face. Then the surprise hit me in the forehead with a piece of ice. Still have the scar. Aggressive communication.
Aggressive communication.
I like you. I like you back. Oh, man. Oh, that is great. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I think your mom said something too.
Let's see what's going on. Oh, is it this way?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, you read that one already.
Maybe I was saying.
No.
Okay, I thought she had said something.
Oh, wait a second. I don't know how you do this.
It's complicated.
Oh, let's see here.
Do you not want this?
The den mother was an alcoholic. The son always was looking to pick a fight with the other kids. That's what my mama said. She was talking about that family.
Oh, the neighbor?
The Reese family.
Oh.
Reese. Like Reese's Pieces.
Oh.
That was the last name, Reese.
Okay.
Yeah. They were the mother and father of that young child was, they were always drunk, basically.
Oh.
And they were always at each other's throats, arguing and yelling and so forth. And the kid just brings that aggression to school or to the Cub Scout meetings and any other activities and engagements. They just, any provocation, just ignite, volatile in one sense.
Like just two sticks rubbing together, dry sticks rubbing together, just a fire.
No, I'm not going to allow that one to go through. I'm sorry.
Science.
We're just going to chop that one down right now. Hiya!
Oh, we got a new comment. Go ahead.
A new comment?
Go ahead, scroll up a little bit.
All right, let's see here. Okay, we did that one. And of course, Ebony said he didn't like me, especially after that. and then.
Was that Pops?
Yeah, pencil packing Papa. He says, little G's saying, I'm going to take shoes off and kick up my heels.
Yeah.
G. Clinton, meaning George Clinton.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I smell a little funk, too, while you're at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, they're flaring her nostrils.
Yeah. Oh,
and slinging.
It's on my suit. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Getting pre-washed, pre-treated.
Pre-treated.
Getting pre-treated. You just make sure you don't sling that over towards me.
Oh, wet cleaning.
Uncle Jim from the west side of Detroit, He don't handle pre-cleaning that well.
Girl, you tired.
My stuff came out the dry cleaner.
Oh, yeah. Looking fresh.
Clean.
Yeah. Sometimes it looks like aggression, but it's just like, hey, I'm tired. I don't know what else to do. Girl, you see this? This action right here? Yes.
Now, is that aggressive?
It comes off aggressive, but you don't know any better right now. Just wait. You want more milk? Okay. But yeah, so when there's alcoholics in the house, or when there's fighting in the house, because sometimes you were raised in a household where if the only time that somebody will listen is if you raise your hand, and therefore if somebody is perceived to not listen to you, then I'm gonna beat them. You know, but I wasn't finished with Antoine. So with Antoine, what ended up happening, I want to say years later, somehow or another we bumped into each other. And I don't know what transpired in his life, but he said, "Man, I was so rude to you. I'm sorry." And he actually apologized.
Wow.
And I was thinking to myself, like, this is not common, you know,
Right.
where, you know, because generally, especially with men in particular, we're prideful a lot of times. And so therefore, our pride disturbs or prohibits us from developing humility.
Oh.
You gonna eat that one, aren't you? Looks like she wants it.
Yep.
I knew. You know, it's just funny. So what's funny about that? Yes, that's the ideal. Oh, and that's the ideal thing to have. Okay, girl. All right. So what's funny is, as I was looking at her developing a attachment to my tie, I was thinking, if she doesn't get it, she's gonna be angry. And we were talking about a couple Friday flexes ago, or a few Friday flexes ago, about how when we have a object or something we desire, and we want that, whatever it is, and if we don't get it, we become angry.
Yeah.
And so with aggressive communication, you may want to have a good relationship, or you may want to get whatever it is that you're desiring, but because you don't know how to make the distinction between how to properly communicate, it goes from want to anger.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or aggressiveness.
Yeah.
And so, as I was looking at her, as she's looking at my tie, developing attachment because of association, and now she's like, you know, I want something else. But yeah, so this aggressive communication style, young lady, can we do this?
I know. I can't do anything at this moment.
Right.
We're recording live.
Right, exactly. We're
The way
live.
she looked at me, she was like, "Take him out." She was like, "No."
Get him. He's prohibiting me from doing what I want to do.
But you made a very good point, because when, as individuals, depending upon our level of maturity and our emotional intelligence, if we're not intelligent, or we lack some intelligence, and if we are immature, then yeah, we just go into this, and please, no offense, crybaby mode. And we start whining and crying, or it comes out in the form of either yelling or expressing some aggressive behavior and tone of voice, simply because we didn't get what we want, or the result didn't come out the way that we, wow, she's exercising in front of everybody.
She is exercising.
Wow.
Keep exercising so you can wear yourself out. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And so, but when we actually stop and properly assess and evaluate ourselves, you know, like asking ourselves, what type of result was I wanting, or what is the intention behind what I'm doing, and what type of relationship do I want to have with this other person, you know? When we start to inquire and think about various different aspects, then, and especially if the relationship with the other person is very important to us, then we will have to check ourselves and for lack of better words, chill and think, okay, this person is very dear to me. I care about this person. I don't want to ruin or hurt the relationship that I have with this person. I want to maintain a healthy relationship. So let me carefully look at myself. What is it that I'm actually trying to say? Because right now, I may not have the right words, and I feel like I should express it in some aggressive way. But let me stop, let me chill.
Take a chill pill.
You know, because just like Orange Juice Jones, he could have pulled out the jammy, you know, and like laid them flat, you know, but he didn't. He just chilled.
He just chilled.
He went home and he canceled all those credit cards. That song is great.
It really
is.
It's
like you can quote from that in regards to aggressive behavior and how to just chill.
Yeah.
And but in that case, he wasn't concerned with maintaining that relationship.
Right.
But if we are actually concerned with maintaining a relationship, we really do have to take a chill pill. And we actually have to stop, slow it down. Isn't that what we hear often in neurolinguistic programming, NLP? We have to stop and slow things down. Properly assess the situation, assess ourselves, and then after looking at everything carefully, choosing the right words, then speak accordingly with calmness and with that understanding, making sure that we didn't misunderstand the other person to begin with, and that we're not just simply reacting. And in this way, we can actually, improve our relationships with each other. You can have two people who, they just have poor communication, but if one person at least, just one person, changes the way they communicate in terms of how they deliver especially, and they do it with, again, being mindful and careful in terms of how they choose their words and so forth, then that could very well affect the other person. And then they could also pick up on that and say, you know what, let me communicate a little bit differently as well, right? So it could have you could say a win-win situation, meaning there's personal growth for ourselves, but then the other person can learn and also change their behavior as well. And then again, that helps with the growth and the progress and the longevity of the relationship.
I was coming back to a song we've quoted several times. Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. And like you were saying, that one person's change or their decision to do something different than what they've done before can make that much of an impact in communication response that the person they're dealing with is experiencing. And so, like you said, if a person learns how to speak better, then of course most people, for the most part, are able to do some type of introspection. So if they see that, okay, our responses or their response used to be, they used to confront me with anger. Now they're taking deep breaths. They're not so reactive. They're more gentle. Then they're going to notice, oh, okay, I feel a little bit better communicating. Maybe I can also mirror, or maybe I can also adopt.
Yeah, and that happens. That does happen. It's actually ends up being a beautiful thing, just to add further to it, is that when there is such a change in the communication, and we see that, wow, this person doesn't just fly off the handle anymore the way they used to. We're seeing that growth and change in this person. And we start to see that change within ourselves a bit too. Then what happens is that because the communication is getting healthier, because it's a healthy, more positive instead of a destructive, communication form, because it becomes healthy, then that door, or you can say that avenue of trust, starts to really set in and take place, where now they're able to see that, wow, since I know that this person is truly listening, what I am experiencing inside my heart or in my mind that's weighing as a heavy burden, perhaps I can actually share that with this other person. And in several podcasts ago, we talk about 6 types of loving exchanges as discussed by the great, wise people. And that to be able to share your heart in confidence and seek advice, that is a very strong loving exchange. It's a beautiful type of loving exchange. And so for a relationship, specifically where the communication was starting off with aggressive, I kid you not, I don't even know how my cousin, I have a cousin who, he used to be in these relationships where his girlfriend was either stabbing him or shooting at him, like the guy hit him in the head with a frying pan, like a cast iron skillet. Wow. Like the guy has like scars all over his body because of the aggressive communication, right? Like physically violent, right? And that always comes to my mind when I think about aggressive type of behavior like this. But I don't know what his situation is now, but hopefully he has learned from those relationships, and to also be able to get to a point where he starts to respect himself and to value himself, to see that, you know what, I don't deserve to be treated like this by this person. And it's not healthy for me. If I truly love myself, if I say I love myself even unconditionally, then that means that I should also set in place, you could say, boundaries. Right. That, you know what, I am not going to allow myself to be mishandled or mistreated in this, whether it's verbally abusive and violent, physically, emotionally, so on and so forth. And just having that ability to say, you know what, no have time. Just enough is enough. I need to change. Right. I need to take a different path. I need to take some important steps, make an important decision here, and actually get out of such a destructive environment and situation. And that's also when one is able to recognize that and move forward and move out of such a situation, that's also, in one sense, you could say, compassion to the other person, in one sense. Because we're not allowing that person to continue to commit the same offense to us. I think about the great philosopher Tina Turner, right? She was in that abusive relationship with Ike Turner. He was physically, sexually abusive to her in many situations, but she had a friend. I think the friend was actually one of the backup singers or something. I can't remember the exact detail. And through meditation and so forth, she was able to understand that, you know what, no, she does not deserve to be treated in that fashion. And then she was eventually able to stand up, and to keep that power within her own hands and not to give away her power, right? And so she made the necessary decision and she got out of that relationship, right? Or got out of that situation because she could clearly see that it was not healthy for her at all.
Yeah, and I think that she got Took both shoes off. Impressive. And we see oftentimes that, as I recall from the book that I read on Wednesdays, the Transforming Lesson to Love, generally people's aggressive or angry behavior is a cry for love.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they're really. I think we talked about this, like crying.
Yeah, is me, like replace the I with a Y, and so you get the word cry, C-R-Y, right, and then M-E, me. So me, it's crying. So that individual is, as you pointed out, crying for love, and so they'll act out in aggressive behaviors, whether that's engaging in criminal activity, stealing and robbing for other people from others, or being physically violent to others, or verbally abusive, emotionally abusive to others. It really is. It's a crime.
Yeah. And we can see that generally after that person gets, whether the object in which they were angry about or they were aggressive towards, or they get what they want, they normally calm down. And unfortunately, because they get what they want, they think that that's the only way to get it, and they continue that habit until someone, and then we'll talk about that next week, the manipulative behavior, kind of communication, but but until someone, like as you mentioned earlier, decides to set an example different than what they're used to. And then they can see, oh, I didn't know I didn't have to do it that way. Because how I've always seen it. That's how I've always heard it. And therefore, this person's gotten the same result, but they don't yell, they don't punch, So, I mean, you mentioned earlier, is that, when Iman was doing something, is that aggressive? And of course, like, because there's not a variety of things she knows how to do. She just knows how to act out.
Right.
And that acting out is a form of aggression. Of course, I don't look at it like,
right.
I don't look at it as aggressive.
Of course.
But at the same time, if one does not feel they have the ability, as we talked about in the first series of communication,
upgrading their what was it? Their mental map.
Yeah, and so they start understanding. Oh, if I throw stuff or if I yell as loud as I can, then that'll get me the attention that I want. And actually, my wife and I were talking about this yesterday, is that when a child is in the position in which they're being, whenever they cry or they throw a tantrum, the parent comes, oh, everything okay? What's wrong? And the child begins to develop this pattern of, all I gotta do is just act up, and they're here. And I know kids whose parents were like that. I know adults.
There you go.
I know adults whose parents were like that, and it's like, oh, that's why you act this way.
See, exactly.
And And it's like they never were allowed to sit in their feelings. Because every time they had a feeling or whatever, it's like, oh, let me solve this for you. Let me fix it. And so
I can fix that.
I can fix that. So you develop this hybrid of adults who, the Karens of the world, or
The Karens and the Kevins.
The Karens and the Kevins, who don't know, who thinks that all they have to do is make a fuss.
Yeah, they're operating on their baby mode.
Baby mode.
They're in their infancy still. I was thinking how important it is that, of course, parents and the responsibilities of the parents that are raising the children, that is there. But how it's also important for all of us, myself and anyone, everyone that's even watching this, is how important it is because in terms of raising a child, because it truly does take a village to raise a child. And if we want to properly groom a child to live in their highest truth and to have that emotional intelligence and to just have a mature way of handling anything that comes up in life, that we as individuals, it's imperative that we show the best example. Because that beautiful child is looking at us, whether we're on TV, whether they hear about us in the newspapers or magazines or any medium, right? Or even if they just physically see us. And if we're acting a nut, then it's almost like we're indirectly, or you could say passively, saying this behavior is okay, this is acceptable,
normal,
or exactly, or this is the norm. But no, this is not the norm. And this is not acceptable, nor is it appropriate, nor is it nourishing or nurturing or healthy at all. It is destructive behavior. And so, again, yes, parents have a responsibility, but I'm also pointing out that those who know that family, like we all have a responsibility, the whole village, the whole community, not, we just have a very important responsibility in being present in that relationship to give the support to you guys as parents or just parents in general. But then, of course, at the same time, us just being exemplary.
And like you mentioned, these, if we do not change or a negative pattern, then it becomes a family heirloom.
It gets passed down from generation after generation.
Yeah.
It's a night, and it doesn't get better. It's like a snowball effect because it just gets worse. And then before you know it, it becomes, what was the COVID-19? Was that called the pandemic, right?
Right.
Eventually it goes from being an epidemic to a pandemic. Like it at one point was localized. Maybe it was something that could be managed, checked easily. But then before you know it, it spreads all around. And you can't really check it. And then what adds to it is that it's not like it just dies off on its own.
Right.
It's like baby's kids. We don't die, we multiply. And so eventually those individuals who were never checked timely early on, that behavior is so, we can just say, crystallized in the nervous system. That's really what is happening. We change the cells throughout our bodies every 7 to 10 years. But those nerves that are in the nervous system, Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey, they have this book where they actually talk about this from 0 to 60, 60 meaning 60 months, from birth to, or even while they're in the womb. You really call it what it is. While they're in the womb,
5 years.
And up to 5 years, maybe 6 years, that the child is learning everything in their environment. And it gets locked in, or you could say crystallized in the nervous system. And it's not impossible to correct and change things, because again, in NLP, we learn that you can teach an old dog new tricks. You can. But it requires, of course, the old dog to be patient. It requires some repetition, you know. Practice is the right thing to say. But the point is, it has to be addressed in a timely fashion. And we do not want something to get passed down like a family heirloom and eventually be detrimental to society. It's crazy. If we look at society and how it operates and runs now, it's nothing new. You can follow it all the way back up 2,000 years ago in terms of what we see statements in the New Testament. You can go back even 1,000 years more and, you know, what's there in the Old Testament, you know, statements that are given in terms of, like even take Moses and the Ten Commandments, right? Like there were problems back then. And we're still dealing with those same problems now. It's like,
yeah.
So my point is, we can actually make a change. And we can stop the spread of this disease, which is not only killing our people, but it's killing so many people. Because again, it shows up in other aspects, right? This aggressive behavior. We may not always take out our aggression on other people. We can self-destruct and take the aggression out on ourselves. We were talking about this last time in terms of how we may eat. You know, some people who don't know how to communicate, they take the aggression out on themselves and they think, let me start drinking alcohol because that's the only way in which I can solve problems.
Where I can be myself.
Where I can be myself. That just made me think about something. I'm going to have to probably give someone a call here in regarding this. But this mentality where growing up, we didn't have a voice. We didn't know how to properly articulate. There wasn't a space, a sacred space, where we actually felt safe to share our voice with another person. And because we're so frustrated and we're so angry, as you were rightly pointing out a little bit earlier about if we don't get something that we want, how that anger comes up and then that wrath, and then it gets expressed, whether emotionally, verbally, and physically, right? That now you may have some people who need to focus while they're in the retired phase of life. They need to focus on higher and more important things, right? But instead of doing that, they're thinking, you know what? Let me see if I can go back to work. Let me go back into the schools. Let me start teaching again. I'm purposely saying this because I'm working and navigating through something in my mind. And let me go back into the school area, because that's at least the one place where I feel like I'm heard. Because I'm standing in front of students and I'm teaching. And so I'm pointing this out because that aggression may not always necessarily be expressed when someone wants to, you know, do that, like teach for that particular reason. But again, it gets expressed in many ways. Again, whether they doing drugs or other forms of intoxication, drinking. They try to find comfort in eating certain foods. I mean, it becomes, they fall apart. Like it reminds me of Edgar Allan Poe, The Fall of the House of Usher. In fact, it reminds me of The Raven. You know, where in The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and I'll wrap up with this, and then we can read a comment here in a second. But one thing that was really unique about this story, The Raven, which many of us were familiar with it, maybe from The Simpsons. Bart was the Raven, right? But the Raven comes to the window, and of course the Raven sounds like he says, "Nevermore," you know, like this. And he sits on the bust of Pallas, you know, like that. Now, what's interesting is when you get a chance to research and study this story carefully, you see that the person, the guy, is living in an old home. It's very dark, dimly lit, cold. He has very heavy drapes on the windows. So everything is just dark, dingy, cold, you know, just uncomfortable, even though there is a fire there, right? And what he experienced was that there was some woman whom he loved, Eleanor. And for whatever reason, or somehow or other, she passed away. He did not know how to handle that. And so it was expressed eventually in different ways. And when you, again, look at the reviews of critics and so forth and other literarians, they talk about how, in fact, this guy was experiencing madness and insanity. All because he did not know how to deal with this hurt of losing someone that he cared about. And it became basically almost like a cancerous tumor, right? And he's just self-destructing. And so I'm bringing up this story to encourage, you know, everyone to read, but just pointing out that as individuals, if we do not check ourselves, we will eventually wreck ourselves. And we'll find that there are more, I mean, there's nothing wrong with professional help. But when we're not able to address these things properly in a healthy way, we'll see that we'll need more and more and more professional therapists to help deal with these situations. And some situations could be too late. I remember I spoke to one therapist. She said, it's good that you come in while you're young. Because there's some people who, by the time they come see a therapist, they wait until the problem is basically has ballooned out of control.
Pandemic.
And it becomes part of just a pandemic. They become part of a statistic, become part of the problem and not a part of the solution. And so it's contagious because misery loves company.
Oh, loves it.
Just like we see crabs in a barrel, they're always constantly pulling each other down. And so, in short, I know it sounds like we may be saying some things over and over again. It may seem repetitive, but the point is that we truly have to check ourselves early on. If we say that we love ourselves, and if we say that we love the others within our family and our children, we must check ourselves ASAP. If we truly mean that, yes, I do love you, or we love you, you know, if we really mean that, then that means that we need to actually look at ourselves and make sure that we're living in our highest truth, that we're living a life with intention, that we are attentive, and that we are truly present and deeply listening and deeply connecting with those who we claim we love.
Right.
Because if we're not, everything we may say, think, or do, even James Allen talks about one's thoughts, speech, and deeds, is that if we don't check ourselves, then we will literally destroy everything around us.
Mad elephant.
Mad elephant. Yeah. You know, so that, and then there was that one thing that you had sent me about what these different personalities represent in terms of either lust, greed, or angry. One of the ones that caught my attention was wildfires. You know how in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, it talks about the first fire, and then of course there was another fire later on, right? and how that first fire actually represented this basically poor relationships within the community. That it was actually became a wildfire.
Oh, wow.
Here, I'm going to actually get the right word here.
Can you read Mama Swift's comment real quick?
Mama Swift says, Big Bad Mama says, exactly, parents are a child's first role model, and if the parents do not have the necessary communication skills, the child will learn those negative behaviors. That's right. That's the last comment. Unless it's frozen.
No, I don't think so. Hopefully not.
It's right here. Extinguishing the forest fire. Intercommunal discord among, of course they use the word Vaishnavas, but among, members of a community or a family. Discord, intercommunal discord. Meaning accord, see en français, in French, accord or d'accord means okay. Like everyone is in accordance with each other. Discord meaning they're not in line, they're not on the same page. It's in disarray, it's a mess. And so when there is discord amongst individuals within a family, within a home, within a community, a neighborhood, a society, a city, a county, a state, a country, a nation, a planet, then it becomes a pandemic. It becomes a wildfire.
One of the things that you were saying that took me down a rabbit hole is that as we all have witnessed children who, because they don't know how to have a proper voice, they act out negatively. Look at what happens when those children get older and they
I'll tell you what happened. I can pull up some people right now. They're behind bars. I kid you not. I was telling my mom the other day, I said, this kid that I used to play football with, we used to be on the football team. The Ravens was the name of our team. I was at St. Scholastica. And that kid is behind bars. He was aggressive when we were kids then, and that's where he is now, behind bars. And there's so many other people who I went to school with in private school that were aggressive, whatever, and they either are dead, strung out on drugs, whatever, or behind bars.
So I thought about those individuals also that, let's say for example, they are, their family may be affluent or some type of aristocrat. They get in a position of power. And now their anger, when they're angry, a society, a region, a nation is affected by their anger.
Take Adolf Hitler. Look at his situation. The young man was an artist. He simply wanted to go to school at the Bauhaus to become an amazing artist. What if he was able to get into that school? We would be looking on the wall saying, is that a Picasso or is that a Hitler?
Is that a Hitler?
In terms of artwork. People are like, I got the latest Hitler artwork,
Right.
But he didn't get into that school. He felt hurt. He felt, rejected, what have you. And he allowed his anger and frustration to get the best of him. And he allowed that anger to radiate out of him, and with good speaking techniques and skills. Because when I was younger, when I took speech class and I was on the debate team, we were encouraged to look at some of the speeches of Hitler, because in terms of public speaking, he was a great public speaker.
Wow.
So like Hitler was like really good at speaking. And so he was able to get people, he was able to motivate people and get people to act out in such a way that, boom, now you have this whole, pandemic, wildfire. And he's over there now killing so many people. Excuse me. And you got a whole world war. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
So, but what if he was able to use that creative energy, not for doing something destructive, but for doing artwork? He'll be doing murals inside different buildings. I mean, wouldn't that be interesting?
That would
That it's the same energy. Message. It's the same energy. But instead of that energy being used in a very creative, healthy way, it went and was used in a very hurtful, destructive, negative way.
I remember hearing the same energy used to create, same used to destroy.
Yeah, the same one. The same energy that can be used to create air conditioning in your home. It's the same energy that can be used to create heat in your home. It depends on how we use that energy. It's just like a knife. A knife, very sharp knife, could be used to kill someone, right? Or that same knife could be used to heal someone by removing a disease. It just depends on how we utilize it, the intention behind what we're doing. Therefore, it just, for me personally, if anyone has spoken to me every day or whatever like that, you know, I'm like on this whole thing of really being attentive and present. And it's like, it just really confirms and validates that much more, how it's extremely important that if we really want to have deep, meaningful relationships, we need to be present. Meaning we need to give 100% in that relationship. If I am multitasking, that means that I'm only able to give a certain percent of my focus or attention to that person or whatever I'm doing, because I'm splitting it up into so many other different avenues. When we do not connect deeply with another person, then we feel that must be the it. Like you can't go any further. But again, that is deceiving ourselves. And we're deceiving ourselves because we do not want to put forth the effort, the time and energy to go deep into such relationships. I mean, what if everyone had deep, meaningful relationships with each other? You wouldn't come across the, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? On the streets. You would actually have people sitting there like, you know what, man, I'm actually having a tough time. Just like a few people I spoke with yesterday. You know, one person, as I shared with you, nice guy, he's out in the middle of, we'll just say nowhere in New Mexico, 20, 25 miles away from town. He can't drive. He'll have another mini stroke if he does. Because that's what got him in that situation, all these little strokes that he's having. And he's isolated. He can't get back to Kansas City. All the people that he asked to help him there where he is, I think it's Alamogordo or something like that. It's like too many people are stealing his money, stealing from him. You know, because he writes paper checks, you know, so his account number, routing number, all that important, delicate information is there. So people, you know, stealing money from him at the same time. So then he's like, he has no one to trust. He's not able to eat properly. All these different things. He's in an isolated place. And he's like, 19, 20 hour drive from here. It's not like you can just get there all of a sudden. So it's like, if people were actually able to connect deeply, then no one would be left behind. In one sense. Meaning, even take a look at senior citizens. You know, those who are, we see in other cultures, Vedic culture, for example, there wasn't a need for Social Security because society was arranged in such a fashion that your family took care of the senior citizens. Like no one neglected, because the senior citizens, they were highly valued within society. You know? And I'm not saying that no one values their parents or values their grandparents or great-grandparents nowadays, but I'm just saying it's unfortunate that there's too many individuals who they never had the opportunity to connect deeply with the great grandparents or great grandparents or just even their parents. And so they just kind of just shove them off into a nursing home facility or something like that, you know, to let them spend their days there without being surrounded by those who love them, you know, family, you know. It's almost like, and again, not trying to find fault or criticize anyone, because there are some people who, you know, they're not able to take care of their parents because they have to work at the same time to pay medical bills. You know, they're trying to do it all on their own. So I'm not finding fault with anyone. I'm just referring to those individuals who are in a position to, you know, be present in their grandparents' or great-grandparents' lives, but they're not, you know. There's one guy on YouTube, and I'll just mention this real quick and I'll read these posts. There's one guy, he's a, is it like a, it's like a nurse, but like he goes to someone's home and he takes care of the elderly like that. He takes care of his grandmother. So he bathes his grandmother, he, you know, changes her pad and, you know, everything like that. Like he physically takes care of his grandmother, picks her up, takes her wherever she wants to go and everything like that. And he stays at home. And it's like, when I saw that, I was really happy to see that here's a young guy who loves his mother and of course loves his grandmother, and what to speak of what he thinks in terms of just women in general. The fact that he's willing to actually stay home and to take care of, you know, his grandmother. His mother is not able to do, but he's physically strong enough to pick her up and, you know, take her to the bathrooms and everything like that. And he bathes her and everything. And I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. We need more people, you know, not only just men, but we need more women just like this individual who is really showering his grandmother with so much love. That is what the world is missing. You know, why do you mess on yourself again? You know, you can't be like that, you know, to your grandparents. I mean, look at all that they have sacrificed for us. You know, we have to reciprocate and to serve someone. That is one of the highest honors that anyone can receive. I mean, wow. I mean, how do you say thank you to somebody, right? When you see that someone is in their moment of need, to actually serve them and to take care of them. Like that is the greatest, one of the highest compliments you can give someone, more than just saying thank you, you know. So it's really beautiful.
Let's read this comment so we can wrap up. Yeah.
Okay, so we read that one. Let's see here. Oh, I read that one too. Oh, can only go up so high. Definitely.
I guess.
We read that one too.
There we go. I think it's the last one.
No, it's this one here.
Let's see, Mom.
Oh yeah, so we did read that one. We have to learn to handle rejection in healthy ways, not destructive or harmful to ourselves and others. That is from Iman. I'm sorry, that's from Ebony. And then, yeah, he says, came in late, but thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. All right, so we went about 15 minutes over, but
we started a little late too, so
yeah,
it's all right.
But it's all good. So hopefully you all were able to share or experience some things that were helpful, and heard some things that were helpful and that you can implement in your life. And despite the fact that these are reflections, I can speak for myself, say I still have things I need to learn. So
that's why we do it.
Yeah.
So that we can enthuse and remind each other. And just by talking about it, know that we're not alone. So there's support. You know, right. It's like, hey, we have support. And so we have these conversations regularly. We love sharing them with all of you. And I personally, I'm sure you probably feel the same way, that, again, that you can actually be able to implement any and everything that we share in your own life, so that way you can have deeper, meaningful relationships.
I'll say one last thing, is that, so from the book I read on Wednesdays, the Transforming Lust into Love, one of the, I'm almost done. She's like, shut up.
She gave you that look too. Oh, then you gonna look at me. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
B.T. Swami was saying that any teacher, when they're speaking to an audience, they're actually speaking as if they're talking to themselves. So that when they are talking, they're actually learning things themselves.
Yeah. I was telling that to my mother yesterday while I was talking to her, and I said, you know, I'm actually, even though I'm sharing so much with you right now, I'm actually really talking to myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talking to the man in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so until next time, till next Friday, flex.
Keep flexing.
Press.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, and remember, stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.